Hello, hello, everyone. Hope you're doing very, very well. Today we are joined by
Katie from Joy of Languages. Hi.
Yes, joined by Katie. It has been ages since we've done a 5-minute language chat. It's a lot of fun to be doing this. I'm extremely quite tired today, as you guys might be able to tell by my eyes and just my general demeanor. But had a very long a normal work day followed by 3 hours of badminton, and then today is a very long work day, like a 12 hours of just nonstop. So 10 a.m. to 10 a.m. to call it 9:45 p.m. So quick little update before we jump in for everyone. This is the only video of the day. No French, no Spanish, no Mandarin, no nothing, no English. This is the only thing. Because as I previously stated, I just have a very busy day and it's not going to happen. So cool. So you guys know the drill. I'm going to get a timer ready. We go for more or less 5 minutes. So I'll get this ready here. And then, oops, not a calculator. I need a timer. Calculator would not be very useful. There we go. Stopwatch. All right, it has started. So let's start here. Yeah. What is your name?
So my name is Katie.
Nice. And where are you from?
I'm originally from the UK, but I'm currently living in Milan.
Okay. And let's start here, I guess. Which languages do you speak?
I speak English, of course, is my native language. Then I speak Italian, French, Spanish, some Mandarin. I used to be able to have a basic conversation in Mandarin, but I let that slide a bit, so I've picked that up again recently, and a little bit of German as well.
Nice. Now let's go in a random direction. Someone comes to your door. They say, you have to move to this island. You'll be the only one. Actually, no. You'll be there with like 100 other people. There's 100 other people, random people there. You can only bring one physical object. What do you bring?
Ooh.
First thing comes to mind. There is Wi-Fi.
Okay. My smartphone so I can listen to podcasts, probably.
Nice. What's your favorite podcast?
I have a few. I really like, at the moment, I'm listening to a Spanish podcast called Nadie Sabe Nada. It's comedy improvised, so it's a good way to get used to natural speech, and it's also quite fun to listen to.
What is the most unique thing that you have done in recent history that maybe the majority of people have not done that comes to mind?
These are all difficult questions.
That's all right.
Let me think. The most unique thing I've done recently that most people haven't done.
If anything.
Nothing comes to mind, maybe.
You know what's funny? The funny thing is that's actually pretty ordinary.
Yeah, I haven't done anything special lately.
That is totally ordinary. Okay, let's go more into like your work. So we're about halfway done. So what do you do? Like what's your connection with languages?
So my main connection, I guess, is through the blog. So I enjoy writing about languages and talking about fun ways to learn a language that work. I personally had a very bad experience with languages at school. I was terrible at languages. I was kind of bottom of the class, almost got thrown out of my Italian course at university. So I got into languages when I moved to Italy, and I realized that languages are about people rather than about kind of memorizing grammar rules and vocabulary lists. And I tried to transmit that through the blog as well. So to talk about ways to learn a language that are less painful and that are more successful, and ways that I used later on after I fell in love with languages via communicating with Italians and learning Italian, to learn French and Spanish and the little bits of Mandarin and German too.
Cool. So I guess of the things that you've learned quite a few languages, of the ones you've learned, and looking at how you've learned them and what you've learned over like the course of your blog and everything, what would you say is, let's say, one really big thing that's worked for you personally?
Learning by doing, definitely. I think I at school, I found I was definitely blocked. Again, going back to the looking at languages as just an academic subject and trying to learn them like an academic subject, I couldn't remember anything. And then as soon as I actually started trying to learn by doing, so even though it was terrible, it was really awkward at first, I was speaking really slowly and painfully, it was only when I actually started trying to use the language, so learning by doing, that I could remember the stuff I was learning and then actually learn the languages.
So how would you like apply the knowledge that you had? Like, what would you do? Like, would you travel? Would you find language exchanges? Did you practice with people in your city? Like, what were you doing to apply it or learn or do?
Now with the internet, it's amazing because it's before it would have been more difficult. I think 10 years ago would have been a lot more difficult, but now with websites like italki, you can set up a language exchange online. You've got access to so many different materials. So not just learning by doing.
What were you doing specifically?
So with Italian, it was a lot easier because it was in Italy. French, I wouldn't say that I don't study a language at all. Like I do some of the grammar and the vocabulary stuff as well. But yeah, doing things like listening to podcasts, maybe slow podcasts at first at the beginning stages, and then lots and lots of language exchanges as well, or paying for a language tutor as well to this conversation.
Got it. So for you, when you say doing it, it sounds like it's like applying it in terms of like speaking or in terms of listening and in different ways where you actually have to like use some of the knowledge in your head to either communicate something or understand something, I think.
Yes.
Is that what you mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So it's quite, I guess the simplest way of putting it, is speaking, reading, listening, and writing, rather than studying the language as an abstract thing, actually doing the stuff that you want to learn to do, practicing doing this stuff.
Interesting. And so how is that different, for example, for like a language class where you're given things to practice with, or you're given like where you have to maybe do a role play with your friend when you're in a classroom, or like how is it different from even like a Duolingo where they're giving you like different practice questions, like how, or maybe those do align with what you believe?
I think one thing that is, for example, so talking about role plays and things like that, I've always kind of struggled with role plays, both as a teacher and as a student, because it feels very unrealistic. So I like to put myself in situations where the communication is real. I'm using it for a real reason. Maybe I'm writing an email to a language exchange partner,
right?
And Duolingo, I know it works for a lot of people, but for me personally, I think it could possibly work well as a complementary thing. But I'd say Duolingo is quite in the opposite direction of how I feel works for me for learning a language, because it's too different. So the stuff that I would do, and I've used Duolingo before, and the stuff that I would do in the app, I would remember it while I was playing Duolingo, but I found I couldn't actually remember it and apply it when it came to communicating with people. Right.
Got it. So I guess when you're saying learning by doing, correct me if I'm wrong, what I'm taking away is that you're putting yourself in situations where, yes, you have to actually either communicate something or understand something, whether it's in a written or like audio format, like spoken, written, listening, reading, whatever. But it's actually something that's practical. It's not like, hey, here's a drill we're doing in class, here's a role play. It's like, I need to send this email, and if I don't send it, theoretically speaking, if I don't send it correctly, the person I'm sending it to potentially might not understand the message. Or if I say something wrong, they might be like, wait, what? Or etc.
Yeah, absolutely. And that way for me, I remember it easier because it means more to me, because it's real.
For sure.
And, mistakes, that doesn't mean that I don't make mistakes. Of course, mistakes are absolutely fine. The other person knows that I'm learning, so it's okay. So it's not like there's more pressure to get it right, but I feel like it's more memorable because it's real. It's more closely related to, well, it is real life. So it's practice. I'm practicing doing the things that I will eventually one day want to do.
Awesome.
I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, definitely. Cool. We've gone a little over.
Okay.
That's okay.
That's fine.
It's always that way.
Yeah, that's okay. I have a podcast called 5 Minute Italian, and the episodes are always like 9 or 10 minutes long.
Nice. Cool.
It happens.
We should we can talk about it after. I should have you on my we should do a podcast collab.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
No, we can talk about it after. But anyway, let's wrap it up there, everyone. Katie's social links are in the description below as per usual. And yeah, I'll wrap it up there.
Thanks for having me on.
See ya.